Imagine a region stretching from high mountain tops through temperate woodland, subtropical forests and equatorial jungles, past great rivers, lakes and mangroves, to a coastline fringed by glorious sandy beaches, cave-riddled cliffs and pinnacles. Imagine a vast archipelago scattered across 5,000 kilometers of ocean. Great volcanoes mark the horizon, surrounded by seas and coral gardens teeming with fish, and providing havens for turtles and dolphins. See migrating birds in their thousands, sweeping down from their Arctic breeding grounds to flock along the tropical coasts and wetlands. Look upon the extraordinary variety of wildlife in this great expanse. Elephants, deer, and wild cattle stalked by stealthy predators. Great apes, gibbons, strange proboscis monkeys foraging in the treetops, wide-eyed tarsiers, giant reptiles, and a vast complexity of gorgeous butterflies and beetles. For this was Southeast Asia before the creation of concrete jungles with their rapidly multiplying populations, destructive saws and machines. Now, this is the home we call ASEAN, where nations draw their boundaries across mountain chains, through tropical forests and across the coral seas. Can we still find these riches? Can we still wonder at their beauty or be inspired by their perfection? It is not too late. We can save examples of our natural heritage. Let our children and their children understand where they come from. Let them take pride in the environments that shape our varied cultures. Let them benefit from the bountiful uses and ecological services this rich biodiversity has to offer. Biodiversity is the very heart of our environment. It is the total richness of all the living forms and life processes of our planet. Biodiversity includes the full range of ecosystems, their component species, and the genetic variety of those species produced by nature or shaped by man. Biodiversity brings enormous benefits to mankind, from direct harvesting of plants and animals for food, medicine, fuel, construction materials, and other uses, to aesthetic, cultural, recreational, and research values. Benefits to ecosystems include climate and water regulation, the creation and protection of soils, helping to reduce floods and soil erosion, shoreline protection, and providing natural controls of agricultural pests, all of which promote creative evolution. Within the ASEAN region alone, These services are estimated to be worth $200 billion per annum. Biodiversity is our wealth. It is our shared natural heritage. The natural world is not just a collection of magnificent and wonderful species. The people of ASEAN also depend upon the vast biodiversity around them to supply their daily needs. Millions of people depend on sustainably harvested fish, timber, and fruits for nutrition and their livelihoods. It's been estimated that 80% of the income of the rural poor is derived from the local biodiversity. Wood remains the most common fuel throughout the region. In fact, much of the leap in development of the countries of ASEAN during the period of 1970 to 1990 was founded on the sale of commercial timbers. Evidence of man's dependence is everywhere. Not only do most of ASEAN's original cultures embrace the concept of maintaining a healthy balance with nature, but the biodiversity of the region also forms an integral part of these living cultures. The peoples of ASEAN have domesticated the elephants and jungle fowl. They've trained the monkeys to collect coconuts. They've bred crocodiles and fish, and they've nurtured rice, vegetable crops, and exquisite fruits. To lose our biodiversity would be to lose our culture. To lose our culture would be to lose our identity. The ASEAN Dream could so easily become the ASEAN Nightmare. Today, this biodiversity is fast becoming endangered by modern development and by the sheer pressures and demands of a growing human population. The big issue is supply versus demand. And despite its great wealth in biodiversity and dependence upon those products and services it provides, the ASEAN region is losing its biodiversity at an unprecedented rate. Forests are being cleared for timber and agricultural development. Seas and coral reefs are being overfished, damaged and polluted, with valuable species being collected unsustainably. Wherever man has destroyed too much forest cover, destructive floods and droughts are a constant reminder of the vital importance to better protect this biodiversity. More and more new threats to our environment are emerging. Ecotourism attracts many millions of visitors each year, largely to enjoy the beautiful scenery, vivid culture, and fascinating wildlife. They bring important foreign revenues into our economies, but without proper management, they can also bring about the destruction of the very habitats they wish to see. Ultimately, the loss of biodiversity is one of the greatest threats to the people of ASEAN. Extinction is forever, and with every species lost, the natural ecosystems they once called home become biologically poorer. The critical dilemma now faced by the nations of ASEAN is to try and meet the ever-growing demands from its burgeoning populations with ever-shrinking natural resources. ASEAN's total human population is over 500 million people. In fact, the ASEAN region takes up only 3% of the world's surface, and yet it hosts more than 20% of the world's biodiversity. And while many of these species are common to several countries, ASEAN as a whole is biologically distinct from the rest of the globe. Much of this living heritage is ASEAN's alone. The need for these countries to collaborate in their efforts to protect biodiversity is obvious. 9 of the 10 countries of ASEAN share the same rich seas and fisheries. 5 countries of ASEAN are linked by the meandering Mekong River. 3 countries share the great island of Borneo. And like the immense forests and seas, species do not recognize our political and territorial boundaries. They pay no attention to borders. With the development of these diverse nations, it's clear that whilst each country must share the right to exploit these transboundary resources, they must also accept the shared responsibility for conservation with their neighbors. Dr. Mandita Lim is the chairman of the ASEAN Working Group on Nature Conservation and Biodiversity.
ASEAN needs a collaborative program because we share common resources which need to be protected in a way that's common to all of us. When I see the villages here in Laos, I can easily imagine I am back in the Philippines. Even many of the plants are exactly the same. As I travel around ASEAN, it is marvelous to appreciate the diversity of landscape and fascinating local species. But actually, I really am struck by the so many similarities that we share across such a large geographical region and between different ethnic groups.
Through cooperation, the countries of ASEAN can pool their knowledge, make better use of their species, and find fair ways to share the benefits. All these countries have responded in their own ways. As signatories of the Convention on Biological Diversity, as members of several other international conservation programs, by controlling the trade in wild species, and by setting aside their own networks of protected areas. Finally, in 1999, the recognition of this shared responsibility spawned the development of the ASEAN Regional Center for Biodiversity Conservation, a forum for cooperation and information exchange, and the forging of a stronger ASEAN voice on the international biodiversity stage.